My name is Emily Carter, and when I was 26, I often felt trapped in a life too small for my dreams. I worked at a cafe downtown, serving coffee to busy people in suits, watching them hurry to jobs that seemed far more important than mine. Every evening, I returned to my little apartment with peeling paint and broken lights, carrying tips that barely covered rent. I wanted more. I wanted freedom, comfort, and the life I saw on screens: expensive dresses, beautiful houses, and trips to cities I had only read about. But wanting was not enough, and no matter how hard I worked, the money was never enough. One night, a friend convinced me to join her at a charity gala. She promised good food, live music, and a chance to see how the other half lived. I borrowed a black dress, fixed my hair, and told myself it was just for fun. The ballroom shone with golden light. Men in tuxedos and women in glittering gowns filled the space, their laughter rising like music. For a moment, I felt invisible, a waitress pretending to be someone she was not. Then I saw him, Mr. Henry Wallace. He was 72 years old, tall, but moving slowly with a cane. His hair was white, his face lined, but his eyes were sharp and kind. People respected him. He had built hotels across the country, and his name was whispered with admiration. To my surprise, he noticed me. While others gathered around the important guests, Henry walked over and asked if I was enjoying the evening. I smiled nervously and told him about my work, my dreams of studying business. Words I said without thinking, though, in truth, my only dream was to escape the struggle of survival. Henry listened carefully. He asked more questions, not in a cold business way, but as if he truly cared. When he laughed, it was gentle, and I found myself laughing too. That night, as I rode the bus home, a dangerous thought entered my mind. What if marrying him could change my life? At first, I hated myself for thinking it. He was old enough to be my grandfather. He deserved honesty, not a woman chasing his money. But then the bills came again, my boss cut my hours, and I stared at an empty fridge. The thought returned, stronger this time. Maybe this is my chance. Henry invited me out again and again. Dinners, concerts, quiet walks in the park. He told me stories about his youth, his late wife, and his long road to success. He said I made him feel alive again. Each time he spoke those words, guilt stabbed me like a knife. Yet I kept smiling, playing the role of the sweet young woman he believed me to be. One rainy evening, he looked into my eyes and asked softly, "Emily, do you think you could imagine a life with me?" I knew what he was asking. My chest tightened. My mind screamed with fear and hope at the same time. I forced a smile. "Yes, Henry, I think I could." 2 months later, we married in a private ceremony. His children glared at me, whispering that I was a gold digger. They were right, but I never admitted it. As I stood in the white dress, holding Henry's trembling hand, I told myself this was the beginning of a better life. Comfort, safety, a world without hunger or fear. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered, "At what cost, Emily? At what cost?"
The first weeks of marriage felt like stepping into a dream. Henry's mansion was more than a house. It was a palace. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, and endless rooms filled with expensive art made me feel like I had walked into another world. There were servants who greeted me with smiles, chefs who prepared meals I could not even pronounce, and drivers who waited by the door to take me anywhere I wanted. I thought I should have felt joy. For the first time in my life, money was no longer a problem. I could open my closet and see dresses worth more than a year of my cafe salary. I could eat at the finest restaurants without looking at the bill. On social media, I posted photos of sparkling dinners and beautiful gardens, and my old friends sent messages full of envy. From the outside, it looked like a fairy tale, but inside, I felt something missing. Henry was kind, gentle, patient, and always polite, but he was also old and tired. Most evenings, he sat in his chair reading the newspaper or listening to soft classical music until he fell asleep. His health was fragile, and doctor visits became a regular part of our schedule. I found myself sitting in silence, scrolling through my phone, wondering if this was really the life I had dreamed about. His children made everything worse. At family dinners, they looked at me with suspicion, their voices sharp with hidden anger. "So, Emily, what are your plans now? Do you want to start a business, or do you just plan to enjoy father's generosity?" Their fake smiles burned into me. I laughed softly, trying to appear calm, but their words stayed in my heart like stones. They saw me as a thief, and deep inside, I knew they were not wrong. Still, Henry always defended me. "Emily brings me happiness," he said firmly. "She makes me feel young again. Isn't that enough?" His loyalty surprised me, and for the first time I began to see him not as a rich old man, but as a human being, lonely, kind, and grateful. He gave me gifts, not expensive jewelry, but small things with meaning. A book of poems, a scarf he thought would keep me warm, even a letter he wrote with shaking hands. Those things touched me more than the diamonds and gold. One evening, we walked slowly in the garden, the air cool and filled with the smell of roses. Henry stopped and said quietly, "Emily, I know I cannot give you youth or adventure or long years together, but I can give you respect, care, and my heart. Thank you for choosing me." His words pierced my chest. I wanted to answer with truth, but guilt closed my mouth. Instead, I smiled and squeezed his hand. That night, I cried alone, wishing he didn't believe in me so much. Months passed. I played my role as a loving wife. I cooked for him sometimes, listened to his stories, and sat beside him in silence. Yet my heart felt divided, half grateful, half restless. I missed laughter, music, and the energy of people my age. Then, one afternoon, while shopping downtown, I met Mark, an old friend from years before. He was my age, tall, full of energy, with eyes that carried the fire of youth. We talked, and he made me laugh in a way I hadn't in months. When we asked about my life, I told him everything was fine, but when we said goodbye, I felt a storm inside me. That night, as Henry slept peacefully beside me, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling. I had money, comfort, and security. Yet, my heart whispered questions I could not answer. Is this really happiness, or have I trapped myself inside a golden cage? After meeting Mark, my thoughts were no longer quiet. His smile, his voice, his energy, they followed me like shadows. Compared to Henry's slow steps and quiet evenings, Mark's presence felt like fire. He called me a few days later. "Emily, it was good to see you. We should catch up, maybe coffee." I knew it was dangerous. I was a married woman now, but I said yes. We met at a cafe.
the kind I used to work in. He asked about my new life, and I gave safe answers. It's comfortable, very different. He smiled and said, "But are you happy?" The question broke me. I forced a laugh and looked away, but my heart screamed, "No." Still, I couldn't admit it. Not to him, not even to myself. Over the next weeks, I saw him again. Just small meetings, innocent on the surface, but each one left me restless. He made me remember who I had been before, the young woman with dreams, laughter, and energy. Being with him was like breathing fresh air after living in a closed room. But every time I returned home, I saw Henry waiting for me, with his gentle eyes. He would ask me, "Did you have a good day, dear?" and offer me tea or tell me a story from his past. His love was quiet, patient, and steady, and that made me feel more guilty than ever. One evening, Henry surprised me with a gift. It wasn't jewelry or something expensive. It was a simple photo album he had made, filled with pictures of us together. Our wedding, our garden walks, dinners, even little candid moments I hadn't noticed. "I wanted us to remember these days," he said softly, "no matter how short or long they may be." Tears burned my eyes. Here was a man who truly cared, who gave me trust and tenderness. And yet, my heart was running towards someone else. The storm grew stronger when Mark kissed me one evening after walking me to my car. For a moment, I let it happen. His lips were warm, his arms strong, and for that short second, I felt alive again. But when I pulled away, shame filled me like poison. That night, I couldn't look at Henry. He noticed my silence, but he didn't ask. Instead, he held my hand gently and said, "Emily, I may not always have the energy to give you adventures, but I hope you know, my love for you is real." I broke down in tears. He didn't know about Mark, about the kiss, about my secret doubts, yet he trusted me with all his heart. Lying in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I asked myself the hardest questions. What am I doing? Am I really so empty that I would betray the one person who treats me with pure kindness? The truth was painful. I had married Henry for money, yes, but somewhere along the way, his gentleness had touched me. The problem wasn't only that I didn't love him enough. It was that I didn't know what real love meant anymore. The golden cage was not built by Henry. I had built it myself. And if I didn't make a choice soon, I would lose everything: my dignity, my future, and the man who, despite everything, truly loved me. Winter came slowly, covering the garden with quiet snow. The air in the mansion felt colder, even with the fires burning. Henry grew weaker that season. His steps became slower, his breath shorter, his laughter softer. I spent more time beside him, not because I had to, but because I wanted to. The meetings with Mark stopped. I didn't call him, and when his messages arrived, I deleted them without reading. For the first time, I began to see how fragile time really was. Henry never complained. Even when his hands shook and his medicine bottles filled the nightstand, he smiled at me. "You make the pain lighter, Emily," he said one evening, holding my hand. "With you here, I am not afraid." Those words cut through me. I had come into his life with selfish plans, yet he saw me as light. He gave me a gift far greater than money. He gave me trust. One night, as snow fell outside, Henry called me to his study. On the desk lay a sealed envelope. He pressed it into my hand. "Open this when the time comes," he said gently. His eyes were tired, but still full of calm. A week later, Henry passed away in his sleep. I found him in his chair, the newspaper on his lap, his face peaceful, as if resting. I held him and cried for hours, not just for losing him, but for all the things I had never said. At the funeral, his children stood stiffly. They didn't look at me with anger anymore, only with cold distance. The lawyer read the will a few days later. Most of Henry's wealth, the hotels and businesses, went to charities and to his children. For me, he left the mansion, his old car, and the sealed letter. With shaking hands, I opened it. "Dear Emily, I know why you first came into my life. I am not blind, but I also know people can change. You gave me joy in my last days, and that is something no money can buy. I hope, after I am gone, you will live not for comfort, but for meaning. Do not waste the chance life gives you. With love, Henry." The tears blurred my vision. He had known all along my lies, my greed, my hidden motives. He had seen them. And yet he chose to forgive, to love, and to believe in me until the end. For days, I walked through the empty rooms of the mansion, listening to the silence. I thought about the woman I had been when I met Henry, hungry for wealth, blind to everything else. And I thought about the woman I had become, the one who finally understood that love is not about money, but about kindness, patience, and respect. I had lost Henry, but he had given me something greater than riches, a new way to see life. Standing in the garden where we once walked together, I whispered into the cold air, "Thank you, Henry. I will not waste this chance." And for the first time in years, I felt truly free.